Virginia Democratic Senator Tim Kaine joins me now. Senator, as many people know, and those who don't know, you're Catholic. You care about your Catholicism very much. Your immediate reaction on this emotional day for Catholics worldwide?
Well, Major, I was so sad when I heard the news, but also just really celebrate a wonderful man, a wonderful leader, and just marvel at his life of service and the way he served with compassion and humility up to his last minutes, ministering to prisoners on Holy Thursday, that time in Holy Week where the priest washes the feet of congregants in a gesture of service and humility, being in St. Peter's Square yesterday to celebrate with people who were so excited to see him, his powerful last sermon. What a beautiful leader for a church that needed someone just like him at this moment in time.
Do you think, Senator, his papacy illustrates the kind of internal conflict in global Catholicism? Catholicism is a powerful institution, and it exerts lots of power, intimately in local politics and externally in global politics. And yet he tried to take the message of Catholicism down to the people who were disfavored, who were marginalized, who were most harmed by the excesses of the world. That seems to be an illustration of these two things that live in sort of constant conflict.
Major, you're right. I mean, I'm 67 years old. Of the popes that have been during my lifetime, he stands out as the one who really put compassion first, and also one who really put humility first in a very unusual way. He used to really challenge church leaders, all leaders, saying that in a funny phrase, he said, you need to smell like the flock. If you elevate yourselves above those you want to serve, or if you use your title to distance or separate yourself from those who you want to serve, you're not a leader. And he exemplified that over and over and over again. And I think that's a challenge that goes far beyond our church, and it's for believers and non-believers, people all over the world. We're all leaders in our own way. It might be in a family or in a PTA or in a neighborhood council. And what he was telling all of us is to be a leader, you have to be connected one to another.
Thinking about the Pope and Catholicism in America, as I look at the statistics, 19% of our population call themselves Catholic. That's about 53 million. In the most recent election, President Trump carried Catholics, according to the exit polls, 55% to 44%. And the Wall Street Journal had an article that caught my eye about conservative Catholicism growing in America as a sort of cultural reaction to not just Pope Francis, but a sense since Vatican II of a kind of liberalism spreading through American Catholicism. What is your evaluation of those things I just summarized?
I don't challenge those, Major. Catholic means universal. So small c Catholic means universal. And so any trend in politics or society, you're going to see in the Catholic Church. In fact, I'll tell you something I love about being a Catholic. Where do we go in our lives now where when you drive into the parking lot, you see bumper stickers of all political persuasions? That's who we are as Catholics. And different parishes might be a little bit more liberal. Mine probably is. Mine is a heavily immigrant parish. Other parishes might be more conservative. But you drive through a parking lot at most Catholic masses, and you're going to see bumper stickers from every part of the political or social spectrum. We don't have enough parts of our society where we come together despite differences to think about something other than our differences, but to think about what we have in common. And so I think the things you say are accurate, but maybe I'd look at it the other direction, which is, we're a divided society, but at Mass on Sunday, despite our differences, we still sit next to one another, accept communion together, and exchange greetings during the Kiss of Peace.
You mentioned Holy Weekend, and there was kind of an interesting juxtaposition of what the U.S. Embassy in the Vatican said on social media, talking about national sovereignty and curbing illegal immigration, and the Vatican putting out a statement talking under the voice of Pope Francis that there was an effort to stir up contempt for migrants, and all of this sort of flows through something that Vice President Vance, who saw the Pope just before he passed, talking about a hierarchy of love, that you love your family, you love your neighbors, you love your citizens of your country, then you make time to love an outsider. And that's been evaluated from lots of different theological perspectives, but it flows through the immigration conversation that is very prevalent, not just in our pews, but in our politics right now. Evaluate all of that I just described.
Well, it does. But, you know, it brings to mind the great gospel lesson that the Pope referred to, the Good Samaritan. Who is your neighbor? And in the story of the Good Samaritan, when Jesus tells the story and the lawyer who asks the question, who is my neighbor, gets asked by Jesus, so who was a good neighbor to the one who was beaten on the road to Jericho? It's interesting, the lawyer can't say the word the Good Samaritan because Samaritans were outsiders. They were despised, but the lawyer knows enough to say the one who showed him mercy. He couldn't admit that the outsider was actually the good neighbor, but the message that Jesus was conveying in the parable was that neighbor extends beyond your next door neighbor, and it really encompasses all of humanity.
Would you say you agree or disagree fundamentally with the Vice President's explication of a hierarchy of love?
I don't really want to get into a test of words with the Vice President over this, but I think the Good Samaritan message, if you embrace it, no one's required to embrace it, but if you embrace it, the power in that message is that our neighbors are not just those near to us, but we have to have hearts of compassion for all. This is so difficult to do, obviously, and the Pope knew this. I met with the Pope once, and we talked about refugees in Rome, and we talked in Spanish. I was at one of his audiences, and I'm fluent in Spanish, so we started to talk about refugees in Spanish, and at the end of our little conversation, which lasted about 5 minutes, he switched to English and just said, "Pray for me." And I think the reason he said that, I had the strong feeling that what he was saying is, Senator, you've got some responsibilities on your shoulders, but I've got even tougher ones on mine. I'm trying to preach a message of hope in a world of despair. I'm trying to preach a message of love in a world where there's hatred. I'm trying to preach a message of acceptance where there's too many things that divide us. I'm not sure I'm up to it. I'm not sure we're up to it, but maybe if we pray for each other, we can be up to it. This is not an easy thing to do, what the Pope is asking of himself and asking of us. But if we do our best and pray for each other, maybe we can get there.
Senator Tim Kaine, always a pleasure, sir. I thank you.
Major, thanks so much.